Dig on the southern tip of the island, in the tiny village of Akrothiri. In their very first trench, they struck gold. They unearthed an ancient wall buried under 30 feet of volcanic rock. As they dug deeper, the wall became a house, and the trench revealed a cobbled street. At their very first attempt, Maver's team had discovered an extraordinary town, perfectly preserved in the ash of a volcanic eruption. Akrothiri is a truly extraordinary find. It is a city arranged with a structured assembly of interconnecting roads and paths, the earliest form of organized town planning ever discovered, and centuries more advanced than anything that has ever been seen before from this period. Archaeologists have mapped every inch of the town, and from their data, our team have built computer-generated models. You are now traveling down the streets and interacting with the buildings of a sophisticated community that was destroyed at the height of its power thousands of years ago. Just as we have seen in the Palace of Knossos, at Akrothiri there are complex multi-story buildings constructed of wood and stone.
The first impression is really a strong one. This is not any simple architecture that one perhaps would have made the mistake of imagining for a prehistoric time. It is a very sophisticated architecture. Not just about meeting everyday needs or physical requirements like shelter or protection. It's much more.
So you're not just looking at them as great achievers in technology, but you're actually walking into their lives and how they ran their world.
Yes, precisely. There are so many things that one can stop and admire, and so many things that are there for the first time in the world. These people are building 2- 3-story buildings on an earthquake-sensitive region. And they are also building in a style of architecture that involves a lot of openings. We take windows for granted nowadays, but back then that was something very innovative.
That's fascinating, because it's a very modern concept. When we employ architects now, we always go on about the light or give me a lot of light, but you're saying
Exactly.
this is what was happening in the Bronze Age.
Yes. This is the architecture of an affluent society. This prosperity is shared by a large number of the members of the community. That is what makes the difference. It's not something that's kept only for the elite.
At Akrothiri, you have no trouble imagining that there were multi-story buildings. In fact, all you have to do is count them. You can count them 3 stories high without any difficulty at all. And there are stairs everywhere. There could have been 4 or 5 stories, as a matter of fact, here, as there was at Knossos. There wouldn't be any reason to believe that couldn't have happened. And take a look at those doors with the vents above them. They look just like what we saw on Crete. There is no difference at all. Even the Romans had difficulty building buildings that were much larger than these. The Romans usually topped out at about 8 stories. At Akrothiri, it's clearly impossible for you to miss this aspect that there were multi-stories here in these buildings. The stairs are everywhere, and you can actually see the multiple stories in many cases. And everywhere that there are stairs, or almost everywhere, they're squeezed, they're broken. Something really, really significant has happened here to squeeze those stairs so tightly that they cracked. At one point, apparently, the city had to be expanded over what had been a cemetery. The graves had to be dug up and moved to some other location, but where the graves were, they left a cenotaph, that is a memorial, a marker. And at the memorial or marker, they placed a statue That statue is remarkable in that it is very similar to Cycladian sculptures, which were much older than the Minoan culture. At Akrothiri, no bodies have been found. Apparently people left the city as soon as there were some earthquakes. They boarded up the houses and they took their valuables with them. They did not, however, take their furniture, and there are some impressions of furniture left behind. Of course, the original wood is gone, but it has left an impression very much like the kind of impressions that you find at Pompeii. The object in the upper left is a wicker basket. This assemblage of pots may very well be where the workmen ate while they were trying to repair the city, before the big one, of course. If you haven't yet come to the conclusion that this site was a Minoan site, this next set of photos ought to prove it. It's the horns, the Minoan horns of the bull. Undoubtedly one of the most remarkable feats of the people here at Akrothiri had to do with their plumbing. They had both fresh water going into the houses, and they had an excellent sewer system. As a matter of fact, their hydrological system is probably not surpassed until you get to the time of the Romans, and then again it is not achieved until about the 1800s in recent time. It's only about then that we started getting things like flush toilets. And a toilet is what you see up there. You see that yellow plaster? That's waterproof plaster. And there in the corner on the right-hand side, we're zeroing in on it, is the toilet.
Fresh running water fed each house, and a sewerage system ran throughout the entire town.
There is a perfect sewage system running under the streets, and these are connected to lavatories.
It was not just the discovery of a toilet that so amazed the engineers, but also its ingenious design. The waste fell through a clay pipe to a chamber below, where water from the town drains flushed it into a cesspit. The pipes interconnected in such a way that a siphon effect was formed, drawing foul smells down the pipes and away from the lavatory. The design was centuries ahead of its time.
Up until about the 1800s, flush toilets were so simple that they allowed methane gas to build up in the bathroom. This meant that if you introduced a flame into the toilet area, it could explode. Modern plumbing takes care of that problem. Apparently, so did the Minoan. Some of the most fantastic things to come out of Minoan culture have to be the frescoes. They're lively, flexible, smooth, flowing, colorful, and nothing has been seen like them anyplace else in the world. And finally, this is my favorite one. I think she's a beautiful little girl. Perhaps after the first earth tremors at Thera, the residents came back, apparently, and buried something in one of the houses. It was in this ceramic container that the archaeologists found it, and probably there was a wooden box on the inside. And inside the wooden box, there was this gold ibex. It's the only gold ever found at Akrothiri.